What's happening, fanatics? On this episode, it is my privilege to have on the show Jay Riggsaw, the author of Sins of Brother, aka SOB. We're also joined by the cast of voice actors of the audio drama that is named after and based off of SOB. So let's jump right in. Thank you guys again for doing this. I really appreciate it. I know I kind of did like a pre-call or like a mini interview with Maggie, Jason, and Jay before. Now we're being joined by Anthony. So thank you, Anthony.
Yeah,
Um,
glad to be here.
yeah, we kind of um, we were talking a little bit right now, and something interesting I found out is that you guys don't actually all know each other. For some of you it's the first time. For some of
Yeah.
you guys have met in person, but sometimes this might be the first time you actually see each other face to face.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think just like when this project kind of got rolling, I didn't really understand how big this was gonna become or how demanding this was gonna end up being on my end. But regardless, I would have still done it. But it ended up being in me getting performances and working with incredible people. A lot of them who are not even on this continent, and a lot of them, who hopefully someday we'll get to meet or whatever. But a lot of us, I really haven't even been in the same room together.
Gotcha. Very
Yeah,
cool. And
yeah.
so we're here today. I probably should have started off with this, but we're here because we were talking about the book SOB, Sins of Brother, which is written by the very talented Jay Riggsaw. And I I I just want to say before we get going, when I finished the book, I was just like, this was unlike anything I've ever read. It was a lot of fun, and it was very crazy. But for anybody who wants, like, if you had to give the elevator pitch, Jay. And by the
Hmm.
way, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, Jay is doing the Daft Punk thing, and he's like Mr. Cool Anonymous Man.
Sure. Yeah.
We actually have the voice actors for the audiobook here, which is very cool. I'm very excited to talk to you guys too. But Jay, could you do the elevator pitch for us? Like, what would you tell somebody if they asked you what the book was about?
Sure. I think I've been. I would call this an ultimate survival tale. That's the kind of arc that I would say. It's kind of a flat arc that it's tending to go down. But sorry, I'm going into the minutia of it. It's a guy who has lost a lot in his life, and he has just some things left, and he wants to say, "At what point do you say enough?" And that's such a cute thing to say. Like, I'm gonna fight fate. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Fate doesn't tell me what to do. Well, what if fate, fighting fate, is at the expense of your family's happiness or the people that you're trying to protect? Um, Basically, you're going to see a guy who is really he's a brother and he's lost a lot of things. And he just says, I'm not losing anymore. And in a lot of ways, that comes to the expense of the people he's trying to protect. And that's going to, end him up there. It's a very unique setting. It's a very unique kind of situations he finds himself in. Um, but overall, the his overall like his path kind of seems pretty just like a freight train running towards one thing.
Gotcha, gotcha, and I appreciate that. I think that's kind of putting it simply, right? One
Yeah, yeah,
guy trying to protect his family um, against all odds, and
yeah.
and when you say against all odds, you mean against all odds. Like there is a little bit of everything in this book.
Sure.
And I really enjoyed the story. Can you guys, well, I guess we could start with Jay on this. Like, what made you want to write the story? And then if each one of you, everybody else can kind of jump in and how they like contacted Jay for the first time and got involved with the project. I'd really appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah. Um, I'm very blessed. I got to. Uh, I think I listen to a lot of music. Music's like probably my number one passion. I play video games, I watch movies, all that stuff, but music is like my number one thing, which is funny because I have absolutely no talent when it comes to music. Like I've tried instruments and I have no talent for that stuff. But I love music. And like my favorite thing is just zoning out and listening to music and you know, this kind of stuff just starts piecing together. I'm sure that there's some level of subliminal stuff that somebody much smarter than me can kind of say, oh, this is why you wrote that book, or this is what you wrote. But there are a lot of cool scenes that are motivated by things that are very close to my heart. And I think that's how I kind of started telling it. And, it's that when daydreams start being the same thing and they don't stop for 10 plus years, you start writing it down, that kind of stuff.
That's cool. I kind of picture you like in class, not wanting to pay attention and just like going through scenes in your head. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Okay. So I did not know that this was a 10-year project, but it kind of shows like in the level of intricacy in the book. So that's pretty cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, because the book itself was written, I'd say like the first page, for example, it was written when I was a sophomore in high school, right? And overall, I think I finished writing the book pretty much midway through college. And after that, that was when I was kind of at a crossroads of whether I want to write the second book or I want to do this thing. And I didn't want SOB to just be some novel. I wanted like whoever experienced what it was to literally do all but see what I saw and hear what I heard and feel what I felt and all that stuff. And that was really important to me. And I think that's why I went down that road. So the book that took a while to write ended up taking 6 years to turn into this thing.
Yeah, I feel that. I got a project as well, and I thought it was going to be like a year, and it's been like I'm on year 2.5 now, so I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, and so let's get into your crew too. I don't know which one of you three want to start first, but how did you guys meet Jay, and how did you get involved in the project?
I think Jason probably the best person because there are a few people that I knew personally that I reached out to, and then there are other people that I reached out through Reddit and other avenues to kind of reach out to and stuff. So I think Jason might be the good person to
Sure,
start.
yeah, but don't not to take away though from everyone in this crew and cast is incredible. So just because I'm starting, it's a team effort. So, yeah, I guess I can briefly say, Jay, we were actually talking about this the other day. I didn't realize it until you told me recently, but we met in college, and I didn't realize until recently that was your second or third day in the United States, I think, when we met.
Yeah.
In reflection is just such a, I mean, honestly, it's a privilege to have been a part of that. In a way, I mean, I can't even imagine what that must have been like for you. I mean, I know what it's like to kind of be new to things and be new to places, but to be in a whole new country and with just all this new culture and all this stuff going on, I honestly I wouldn't have been able to tell either way. So you, I mean, I don't want to take away from what might have been going, like what that must have felt like, but I don't know. I do remember meeting you, and just right away your vibe was just electric and really awesome. And yeah, I mean, and then I know you eventually, like, you eventually went to a different school at a certain point, but we stayed in touch. And I think you reached out, I think back in, maybe it was like 2015, maybe a little earlier.
I think that's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were just letting me know that you had this project in mind. And yeah, I studied theater in college. And you know, it just, at the time, actually, it came when I was kind of looking to do some more work and get kind of just explore that area. And I mean, and then from there, just being able to do the lines remotely. Oddly enough, I think remote work that was sort of like my precursor to remote work. So in some ways, thank you, because it helped me adjust easier to what our new normal has been for the last year and a half almost now. But it's just been an amazing journey to be a part of it. And also just to see, you know, I think I've virtually met different cast members at different times. So it's one of those things where I think you can only add more to the experience. I'll never, you know, there's always more. There's always like more abundance to be had. So just been great to be a part of. And the character has been incredible too.
Yeah.
Characters, I should say.
Yeah. No, funny thing, because I not the kind of guy that goes around, like, I tend to keep this stuff that's really close to my heart pretty private and pretty to myself. And not like that. Like, for example, my best friends in the world, a lot of them don't know anything about SOB or anything like that. And it's just a part of myself that I kind of keep away. So, like, Jason, after I'd said goodbye to him and all this stuff, and I'd moved on from Cleveland, Ohio, is where I met him. When I reached back out to him, it was kind of a, hey, by the way, dude, I know you didn't know this, but I was working on this one thing, and you know, so it was like a completely new. I just kind of knew the kind of guy Jason was, and I knew he was really talented, and I was like, kind of approached him with my own pitch of the thing, and I'm very grateful that it worked out for us.
Cool.
Couldn't have said it better. It was just such, to be honest, it just to both to hear from you, like, after those few years, and the fact that there was an opportunity on top of that, I think that was anything just more of like a cherry on top. It was honestly just really good to hear from you. And I mean, you know, just because college gets crazy, you know, you meet a ton of people, and I was like I was out of the country myself for a little bit. So just to hear back from anyone, but especially, you know, it's even people sometimes where even if I haven't seen them or met them a lot for a long time, those connections can be made right away. And you know, I mean this wholeheartedly, that you're one of those guys where, you know, we might be thousands of miles away on you know, speaking virtually, but I just feel like the day we meet, it'll be like just picking up from where we were in the cafeteria. So
dude, I should ask you to do my wedding speech or something, man.
All right, my fee's not too high, but we'll talk.
Sounds good.
All right. So, if just a quick thing, because I'm recording, like, if you shut off your video, if you come in and out, then I might have to like fidget with it. So if you want to like leave the camera, that's fine. No big deal.
No worries.
Yeah, if you guys have to go to the restroom, it's all
right. Sorry about that. Had a little technical difficulty.
No, you're good, man. No worries whatsoever. But that I do know what you guys mean, though, by like having those friends that like you don't see each other for like 4 or 5 years, and then you see each other, and it's like I don't know what that's called, or I guess maybe chemistry, right? Like there's just certain people that you meet, and then it's like you're friends for life for whatever reason, you know. So That's
Yeah.
cool. I like seeing those type of interactions between collaborators, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anthony or Maggie, do you guys want to go next on how you?
Well, actually, I think Maggie's probably the perfect next person. The only reason I ask is I think we have three examples of very different people, like very different type of character actors that I kind of reached out to. Jason was somebody who I knew personally when I started the project, who I reached out to. He and Lydia, they were both people I knew personally. Maggie was somebody that I kind of recruited in person. And then Anthony, obviously, it was kind of done over the internet and stuffs.
Yeah, and that's actually a pretty good story how you recruited her. So I've heard it before, but I want to hear it again. So.
Oh man! All right, I remembered a couple of more details that like are gonna be good. So
Oh wow!
I had done. So it was the year 2016. I was a freshman in college. It was the fall. Like it was my first semester ever of college. And previously, I did 4 years of high school theater. And I did all the one act plays, all the fall shows, like everything. I was really I was really good at reading lines too. And just like kind of used to that whole acting and emotion and things like that. But my major was engineering. So I was like really kind of sad. I was like, oh, I guess I'm just going to have to give it up. Well, this guy in my freshman engineering class was like, Maggie, because he knew I did theater too back in high school. He's like, Maggie, there is a club meeting tonight for amateur like actors. Like you have to go to it. Like come with me. Like I'll be there with you. And then like afterwards we can go to the library and study. And I was like, okay, bet. So I sit in the front row. I'm sitting next to him. I don't even remember his name anymore. Like that's how like after that meeting, I only went to this one meeting too. And I just remember walking in and there's this guy sitting in the back corner. And he's just kind of like awkwardly like kind of playing with his hands and like just like he's nervous. And I'm like, who is this man? Like, why is he here if he's nervous? If he has stage fright, he needs to go home.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he here? And then he walks up to the front to kick off the meeting. And he's like, so I wrote a book and I'm looking for voice actors. If you're interested, send me an email at this email. And I was like, okay, well, I need to send something that's going to make me stand out because I see a lot of other girls here. I see a lot of other guys here that I know are going to jump at the bit. And he's like, fair warning though, this book is intense. This book is kind of dark. It's kind of funny. And it's a whole lot of fun. And I was like, all right, what can I say? What can I say? What can I say? And I remember sitting there like still in the meeting and he's still talking and I'm like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And like, I just jot down the first thing that like came to my mind. And then I was like, okay, I'll send it.
I think I remember that.
He responds like later that night and was like, can you read chapter 8 for me? Like it's one of the hardest scenes like you'll have to do as the lead actress. One of the hardest scenes that I have. Yeah. And if you can do it, it's yours. And I recorded it. I remember reading it over and over and over in my little dorm room.
Yeah.
Sending it off. And then here I am.
Yeah. No, it was I was pretty much blown away. Like they're like it's pretty incredible. Like I think with just those characters, the two characters that Maggie kind of conquered pretty much was like I thought two of them were very hardest characters to attack just because they have such a not only a vulnerability about them, but then they both have their nuances. Like one is has a kind motherly kind of tone. The other one is still a kid who is still way more mature, stronger than most of the people that you kind of see. And but also, you know, showing a lot of, yeah, it was like the main character's relationship with those characters is kind of what creates that whole conflict in SOB. And I think you know, Maggie, you know, kicked ass about just hitting that. I was like, out of all the responses I got, I was like, you know, this is the one that we're going with for sure. Like, not a doubt in my mind. And I mean, yeah, it's to the point that when I write lines, or when I revised and I wrote lines in the future, like, it's like Maggie's voice that kind of you know, I think of when I'm writing those characters.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And
And I remember that thing very well, what you wrote. I just realized that.
Yeah.
Is it something shareable?
Yeah, it is. It was just like, it was something dorky and cute, and I was like, okay, fine. But I was like, I'm gonna be objective. I'm gonna, you know, because like I was like, I need to be objective. This is a very, very important role that I'm gonna give whoever takes that, and not her. Then I was like, yeah, this girl fucking takes it.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yeah.
Really, I'm gonna see if I can find it while we're like still going. So
Yeah.
One thing I forgot to ask for the voice actors, your roles. Who
oh,
each one
that
play?
would be important. So I guess I'll start since we kind of landed on me. So I play Ame, who is the cousin of the main character, and then I also play Yomi, who is the youngest brother.
Oh, you play
Yeah.
Yomi too. Okay.
Yeah, I play
Yeah.
Yomi.
I'm gonna tell you this. You did a great job because I had no idea that they were the same person.
Yeah.
No idea whatsoever. So kudos.
That makes me so happy to hear. Thank you.
I had to change the pitch on my end, but there was definitely like performed differently for sure.
It's just
Yeah.
a different vibe, you know, like a little different. Oh yeah.
No, like I said, I had no clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
So good job.
Yeah.
And
Because honestly, that was like one of my big, just quick thing though. My biggest worries, one of my biggest worry was that I was gonna, you know, kind of the emotional powerhouse or whatever. I was gonna use her on the two characters that kind of needed it the most, and I was worried that it would, you know, somebody would be able to tell that. But I'm very fortunate that no, I mean, it worked out great.
awesome.
No doubt. So yeah.
And Jason, since we already got you, what was your character?
Sure. So my main character was Daisuke, who is, how do I put it? Sort of a,
Badass.
I mean, sort of an understated badass, I would say. He's been through a lot. I kind of view him in sort of, in reflection, I kind of think of him sort of like an Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of character. And I guess I'm speaking more to like the initial, the initial New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, that Obi-Wan. Not to say the more recent one is same. It's very similar in that regard. Like, still is a force for good despite like going through a ton of just difficulties, and at the same time kind of being this guide. I think for Theo throughout SOB, but also you see an inside life to him, and just a really complex character. But a lot that I could channel from like my own life, but also sort of look at like these archetypes of society and sort of still sticking with goodness even in the face of adversity. So that was really my main guy. But I also I play various guys too, like some of the what is it? Daniello, Dwight Daniello. I play some of his thugs. I play the doctor, like a psychiatrist.
Dregs.
Yeah, Dregs. So yeah, I'll pop in there with some smaller roles too. But all of them, it's great. It's just fun to kind of hop around, and for me, it's like kind of like doing improv. Just kind of hopping different characters, and same with like this idea of archetypes. Kind of there's Commedia dell'arte, which is like the Italian mask acting where archetypes are kind of talked about, and I view each of those characters as like their own archetype. So it's just such a fun part to be so fun to be a part of.
Gotcha. Awesome. And Dr. Dreggs was the main doctor in the prison, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was he was the one. Yeah, he was the. Yeah, he was one of the guys that I wanted to make him smart enough, because unfortunately Ashido is a character that I can't have too much time spent with. Just the laws of horror being that you need to hide your character, hide your monster as much as you can, but you still want to build up that the boogeyman. So the way to do that is, you, rather than building up the boogeyman, you build up the nice juicy steak that you're gonna feed to the boogeyman, and that's how that was kind of the thing of Dreggs. I thought Jason did a phenomenal job with Dreggs, and then kind of when Ashido chainsaws through him, that's the lovely passing of the power dynamic or whatever of that.
Ah, I see. Okay, that's cool. Kind of getting into the tricks of the trade.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
I
yeah.
appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to keep that in mind for like suspense.
Yeah.
That's a good note. Okay, and the person that's been waiting so patiently, thank you so much, Anthony. Yeah, could you
Yeah, no problem.
jump into how'd you got in the project and who your character is?
Yeah, so I actually, I think I answered Jay's, basically it was like an ad on Reddit, because I had done like, onesie twosie little jobs on like Fiverr and stuff like that, trying to kind of break into voice acting, and he gave me, I think, so he gave me either Hughes or I think Jason was the other one, and I recorded for both, and he liked my Hughes better, and honestly I liked my my Hughes better. And I really liked the kind of like almost Max Payne ex-cop kind of like older guy, and yeah, so I got the part, and my biggest fear was not being able to deliver gruff enough. So a lot of the time when I'm recording like on weekends, right as I get out of bed, my voice is still like all scratchy, and trying to get like the best performance out of that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. My first role. Yeah.
You guys want to talk? Oh, I got a beautiful story about Anthony though. I think just kind of taking it to the next, talking about taking stuff to the next level. Because I had to, I kind of worked on pretty much everybody's performances, or not performances, sorry. Everybody, had a different amount of experience with voice acting. So obviously the files that I get from them were different. Some were totally edited and stuff like that. For some people who were just very new to it, I just wanted the raw file, and I do all that stuff myself. Anthony, I got I asked for the raw file from Anthony, and so there's a scene in stuff is happening. Let's say there are a lot of zombies around, and Hughes is playing around with his guns. So obviously, what does Anthony do? He brings out his own guns, starts.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I used a lot of that stuff. I thought like that was awesome. Yeah, and I think just there's a lot of authenticity that, and like Anthony is like very versatile. Yeah, for sure. He probably, like, if there's a role and I'm not sure who to put there, like I know I can put Anthony there and he's gonna shine. And Hughes is an awesome character, and Hughes's enemy is Dwight Aniello, who Anthony also plays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I that's pretty much the only accent that I'm confident in, by the way, because my grandpa is an old New Yorker, and he would always tell us stories growing up as a kid. So that's a pretty good one. That was really fun. On Yellow was fun.
Yeah, and it wasn't like over the top either. It was just like, it wasn't like caricature, like it wasn't a caricature or anything like that. It was, it felt genuine, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had no idea that those were the same person either.
Yeah.
So again, kudos, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I guess that's the good thing about voice acting, right? Like you guys can dress up and like kind of play with your voices and then play with the audio a little bit, and you're a completely different character. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think before we continue, especially since you mentioned like the gun sounds and all that, I want to say I asked Jay to come on after he reached out to me on Reddit. I put a post as well, so very similar, like on how this podcast is works. Is like I look for people on Reddit, like what are you passionate about, like what are you a fan of? And then he's like, well, I wrote a book, and I'm like, that's even better than being a fan. You're a creator, content creator, you know. And he's like, well, I have an audiobook if you want to start listening to this. And I was like, yeah, let me listen to it. And just for anybody who is interested in checking this out, it is an intense book. It is a grim fantasy or grim noir, grim horror story. So the first chapter is pretty intense. But it is not just an audio book. I want to say this is like audio theater, because this is not like, I am very impressed because this was a very ambitious project. It wasn't like, it seemed like an ambitious project. It wasn't just having a few people read some lines. This was a big passion project.
Yeah, I mean, because I and if I'm wrong, you know, somebody please correct me, but I never, you know, they're two different things. There's audiobooks and then there's audio drama. Audio drama can bring a lot of immersion in there, and then you can have those effects and make it feel like, you know, it's like a play going on. Whereas an audio book, you sacrifice a lot of that immersion, but you can give more details. With this, it was almost an experiment. Can I give you the blockbuster action amount of detail, showing you a blow by blow of how a fight's going down or how something's going down, while still accentuating the immersion of it, getting music involved, stuff like that. I personally haven't really seen much stuff that kind of meets that same kind of both gives you an audiobook's play-by-play and also that amount of immersion. You know, I thought that in this environment that we are in, which you know, audio only entertainment is becoming, you know, almost as desirable or is just as desirable as, you know, something that you'd sit down and watch. You know, I wanted to make a movie blockbuster, something leveled story in which you're playing your video game, you're driving to work, or you're doing your schoolwork or whatever, and then we are literally telling you and making you feel everything that you need to feel. And I think that's when I started making this, I didn't know if it would work. I was very, like, when I finished one chapter in which, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, like there are gunfights and all this stuff that's going on, and putting it all together, like, this is after 1,000 hours of editing, and hearing it click, you're like, this can work. And that was like, out, and then I reach out to Jason, I reach out to Maggie, I'm like, hey guys, listen to this. I think it's okay, but this is, you know, I need another pair of eyes on this. And they're like, yeah, or that's, you know, but it seemed like it would work. And, you know, with SLB, obviously the story is something that's so close to my heart and something that I want to, you know, keep pursuing. But But I think one thing that everybody on this team also wants to do is, you know, be a part, try to make this sub platform or sub genre of audiobook / audio drama hybrids that are, you know, I mean, these guys were on ground zero, so I don't think there's many other people that are, you know, that shouldn't, you know, be a part of pushing that medium forward.
Yeah, and I do have to say, like, I listened to this summer the Harry Potter, what is it, The Cursed Child, the one that they did the Broadway play.
Yeah.
They put it on
Yeah.
Spotify for free, so I listened to that, and even compared to that, which probably has a huge budget, like ridiculous budget, yours has more production in it. Like there's more to it than just what's put there, and like the bands, like how many bands did you have making music for you, and like how much original music is on there? Like there's the overarching theme, which is very oriental in origin, and then like chapter 24 was probably my favorite. You guys had like a Scottish song, then you had like a remix version of the theme on there, and like that just blew me away. Like how did you get all those musicians involved?
Chapter 24, do you mind reminding me which one that was?
I don't remember the chapter. I just remember I'm like, I gotta make a mental note. Music from chapter 24 is freaking awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll read you the title because I have it pulled up. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Chapter 24. Oh, this is a little bit easier on my phone. Give me just a moment.
No worries.
But if you want to jump into like how you got the bands and stuff, I'll bring it up here in a sec.
Well, a lot of those bands, the ones, for example, who did stuff in the middle, like the scene breaks that we had, those are all bands that I'm personally a fan of, you know? So I reached out to them and I was like, hey guys, we're working on this project. You guys, I mean, because they were part, like, as I said, music is like the number one thing that's always kind of been my thing to run to, thing that's inspired me and all that stuff. So, you know, it was my little way of saying thank you or whatever for whatever it would, you know, for whatever it was worth. But with the music stuff, you know, it's it's just kind of keeping my ears open and trying to be not fall back into the music that I always find, you know, I'm comfortable with. Like I push myself and say, no, today I got to go listen to this stuff and this stuff and this stuff and more classical stuff, and try to, you know, be very open-minded and on what type of music. And I think with this one, it's a little bit easier just because SOB came from kind of my own kind of heart. So whatever would tug at my strings, it would sound completely different. Like if it's some dubstep remix of some, you know, stuff that Arius guy did, or, you know, just everything, I knew that it was all coming from the same place. So I knew it would work together.
Gotcha.
Even though it's crazy genres that are different.
Gotcha. And did for the rest of you, did music play a part in your characters at all? Like, is there like, you know how I forget what it's called, but when actors are supposed to write like little biographies or like backgrounds for their characters, like is there anything that influenced you guys that made you be like, this is what my character is, or this is what my character likes?
I can speak to that a little bit. I mean, yeah, I would say 100%. I know what was really unique about this project, and just once again goes to the testament of the scope, but also the execution, was that some segments were, I was able to get access to like certain segments or even some audio. We kind of shared, Jay could probably talk about this in much greater depth, but we could like kind of get like a spreadsheet of like what songs are being used or what sound effects. And just to give a little bit more life, I think, to the character, I would listen to some of the songs and There's so many good songs. I know one that off the top of my head comes to mind is this artist Tom Player.
Oh yeah,
I think that he's incredible.
for sure.
And I used to pump myself up. To be honest, I used to listen to that a little bit before recording, or even after, just to like feel that there's something about it. It's almost hard to even put into words, but it fits the overall theme of SOB and
Yeah,
sort of that grim fantasy world that it makes up. So for sure, I would definitely say that that's a big part of it. And but then to see to see more of the final product, there's songs I didn't hear before then. So hearing even like the ending theme, it's like a beautiful lullaby. Like I didn't even know that was there, and that just like, to me, that's like the heart, like the heart, heart flutters, I guess, of SOB, like that I didn't even know was there. So it's just so great to see that.
So the lullaby, that's kind of used a lot between Yomi and Theo. And that's sort of that I would listen to that before I would record Yomi, because every single decision ever made, whether it was in this book, whether it's in your own life, whether it's in anything, there's always a reward and there's always a consequence. And so that is the whole premise of Yomi and Theo's relationship, is just who's going to deal with the consequences after this decision. Is it going to be Yomi? Is it going to be Theo? Is it going to be both of them? Yomi has made a lot of peace with what's going on in his life, what's going on with Theo, what's going on in the world. And Theo just has not given up yet, and he won't give up, and he can't stop. He cannot stop. And that's what's like crushing Yomi. And that's kind of where the lullaby comes in to kind of bring that emotion to it all. Now for Ayame, I always associated her with a piano-based music, because it could be anything. It's very classical. It's very controlled, which is what she tries to be in the midst of the craziness. And whenever she tries to do something right, or she tries to do something human, because the world that they live in is crazy, it always turns out crazy. So having that little bit of control in her life and in her soul, I always associated her with the piano.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like especially that I know the piece that Maggie's talking to me about, and like that piece is from a show that's shouldn't have made as much of an impression on me as it did, but it there are certain things that just click with you so hard that like I don't like this show. I know it. I did not rewatch that show because I know the emotional effect it had on me, and I still think about it pretty much every day. But I can't watch it again because I know how emotionally it touched me. And this piece of music was like one of the core pieces of that show that got me. And I think I texted Maggie, and I was in Pakistan doing my internship when before I texted Maggie about this, but I had to kind of start editing this in, and I was like, dude, like you don't understand, like this is emotionally like gonna get me pretty bad. And when I had to start, because every time I used any piece of music, I have to dissect it down. I have to make sure to the millisecond I know where every beat is. And when I had to do this song and then start tying it into the things that it's inspired, it was rough. And yeah, no, and I think she kind of saw it spot on.
Do you mind sharing? And if you do, it's fine. But do you mind
No, it's fine.
sharing the name of the show that you're referring to?
It's so stupid. My girlfriend is a nine-tailed fox.
My girlfriend is a nine-tailed fox. Okay,
It's a Korean show, but it's I don't know what it was. Maybe it was where I was in my life when I saw that show, or what was going on, or whatever. But it was just a really beautiful show. It's got a huge amount of cheese in it too, but the music in it was what really just got me. And it's like it's the kind of music that is on my saved Spotify lists or whatever, but I'll never play it because I like it. I know it'll change. Like emotionally, it's gonna get me. And I was like, no, I'm not playing that music, but it's always gonna be the number one song.
Got you.
Yeah.
And coincidentally enough, like a show that like has affected me like big time in my life also has to do with the Nine-Tailed Fox, which is Naruto.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, which is
Oh yeah.
plays a huge
Yeah.
musical. They have like they do the same thing throughout that show. They
Oh,
have
yeah.
like the same music playing throughout the whole entire series, and yeah, like I get
Like
it.
Ralph, you do not need to talk to me about Naruto. Like I can promise you, like I'm the age that I'm at, and I'm still wearing like my wallet is like the orange Naruto wallet. Like so, you don't have to talk to me about. Yeah, like I completely feel you.
So
Like
it's
Naruto's probably my favorite anime of all time.
so your wallet's not the little green frog. It's the
I wanted to get the little green frog. It's just I don't want to like I wanted to get the good one. Like I saw it in Japan and I didn't get it, and now I'm kicking myself like in the butt for it. So I'm gonna go get it whenever I get to
feel
go
that.
again.
Okay.
Hey,
I
sorry, my phone died in the middle of trying to grab a laptop.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
No worries. And actually, your transition was really smooth on my feed, so no worries about that. You're good.
Okay, good. So I didn't want to make it work for you.
And funny enough, you just did a hero entrance because we just finished like our little line, and I was gonna be like over to Anthony.
Mhm.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah. So like, did music play a part at all in your roles and how you approach them?
So for On Yellow, definitely. And I know it probably sounds like, oh, of course, cheesy, but kind of like, The Sopranos, jazz, trumpet, kind of music, because you're in his turf.
Yeah.
You're on his ground when you meet him. So he's very like, it's almost like a scene from The Godfather where you're going into the Don's territory, and he's at home, very like
In his domain.
yeah, and he knows he's in power here, so that kind of put me in the mood of like the big man and
Yeah.
But honestly, with Hughes and a lot of the other minor characters I played, not as much. Hughes mostly just because his type of character, I don't really know what kind of music he would like. I don't know that he would like music at all, even.
Now that you mention it, have you ever watched the show Homeland?
Not yet. I've seen stuff about it, but no.
So there's a character that's kind of like the muscle of like the agency, right? And he, like, they go to his house and they're like, nobody lives here, but he lives there. But it's just how simple he is and how like I have a job. All my focus is on my job, and I kind of picture Hughes being that character. So
yeah, like the kind of guy with one plate and one cup in his cabinet. Yeah,
right. So he might not have an iPod.
Yeah, no, I don't think if Hughes listens to music, I can't imagine what kind it would be. But
well, yeah. I always like the like you made that Max Payne comparison, like just Max Payne style music. Like that's actually so spot on. Because that's like like pretty much that he's a very that's definitely I could imagine that playing around him when he's walking, not necessarily what he's listening to.
He doesn't have time to listen to it on his own. It's just kind of there while he's doing his thing.
Yeah. No, Park is just walking behind him with a violin, just playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's funny. A la Sherlock Holmes, just violining it up.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. All right. So let's kind of jump into the story a little bit more. So one of the things that caught my attention is the world that they're in and the rich characters. Like honestly, Hughes, I think, could have his own spinoff. Daisuke could have his own spin-off as far as like early Daisuke, right? Like the
Yeah.
story of him and Azel would be pretty awesome to hear. Um, and but I think the setting that you made, the world, is very unique because it's kind of like in a reverse Elysium, right? Or a
Yeah.
reverse like Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah.
Instead of there being like a little section where all the privileged people live, you have a little section, or I could say more a state. It's probably the size of a state if I had to guess. But there's a state that's basically all the prisoners live in this state, and them and their offspring just to the heck with them, whatever vices that they have, whatever, and it's also very Into the Badlands esque. I don't
Mm.
know if you've ever watched Into the Badlands, but they have regents in Into the Badlands. You have regents in the Octagon, right, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I just thought the world lends itself very good to some hardcore like storytelling, or some hard hitting storytelling, where you're delving more into the psyche of humans, and probably like the dark side of humans. Where did you come up with that?
Um. So when I was in high school, I think one of the very because I come from um, you know I come from an Asian country, and there's a very huge British um, presence over there. This is about World War II, pre-World War II times, when you were seeing a lot more colonialism over there. Well, one of the things that kind of passed on was the concept of the caste system or stuff like that. But oversimplifying it, but there was a very popular belief that evil was inherent, that people are born good or they're born bad. And I thought it would be a very interesting thing if what would it be like if that the most powerful person on the planet, for whatever reason, um, has something happen, and then he's like, all right, well, what am I going to do is I'm going to take everybody who's ever shown any trace of evil, and then obviously all their relatives, because sure, evil is genetic, and you put them in this little world, or put this little sectioned off octagon. And then this is about the size of a country, the size of a state. We haven't, gone into that so much, but in a big kingdom almost of prisoners. What would that look like? Well, obviously, the concept of people being inherently bad or good is dumb. That's not the world we live in. But you take helpless people and you throw them into the jungle, and what would the world look like 100 or 200 years later? What would that government that they kind of just drew up look like? Who would be the power players in that environment? Obviously, this whole thing is roughly, so the people who are kind of thrown in there, it's about World War One times, slightly before World War One times, so you're going to get that steampunk aesthetic. But so that was the moment where everybody was kind of thrown in there. But hundreds of years later, science has not really evolved. Technology has not really evolved in any way. The only thing that has evolved is how those people speak language. So that's why you have Theo cussing, and not cussing, but cussing in a very contemporary way, or people talking in a very contemporary way, when there's steam engines and all that stuff kind of going on. So I thought it'd be a very interesting world. And then the other thing also being that this is all inherently evil people from all over the world. So you took, people in Italy, people in Russia, people in East Asia, people in Britain. You take all these people from all over the world. You take, Black people. You take Hispanic people. You take Pakistani/Indian people. You throw them all in this little world. What would that world look like? In my world, it's almost like the Great Equalizer. It was to the point that no so much race is really being oppressed, because just humanity in itself is being oppressed. And I thought that was a really cool kind of world to live in. And then how would that even change? Like, for example, like just an example being like the use of the N-word. When that became such a taboo thing, or not taboo thing, but the stigma around it, when did it start? And then if, for example, Jim Crow was never a thing, if what was that called? The word with S.
Suffrage?
No, and that's,
Suffrage?
I'm just having I'm having a senior moment.
Segregation.
Segregation, yes.
Segregation.
Thank you. Yes, if segregation was not a thing, if suddenly overnight everybody is dealing with the same problems and stuff like that, and they have more pressing matters and are already considered the bottom of the global hierarchy, what would that world look like? And how would those people speak and stuff like that? So that's why Randall, aside from being a complete moron, is also not really doing stuff that is totally taboo in this world. But yeah, no, I thought it'd be a cool little experiment. And it's a pretty good setting for the story itself.
Yeah, I feel that. And I guess one of the things that you mentioned, they speak very modern, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious about that. Is that more of Theo being the narrator and kind of just bringing himself into our world, telling us the story? So kind of like Joker-esque, breaking the third wall, knowing that there's people from the outside looking in, or is that him himself in the world he's in?
Yeah, no, that's just the world that they're in. I wanted it. I thought for two reasons. One, I thought it'd make it a little bit easier to relate to the characters, and it's a little bit, you empathize more with those that kind of speak with you, and I think just from a canon standpoint, or from a fiction standpoint, it made sense to me that in a world in which nothing has evolved, or no technology is really improved in the way that it should, the only thing that has is how people speak. And I thought, I could come up with a new dialect or new way, but I thought that would ruin the opportunity, that a really good opportunity that I would have to make people, in touch with these characters even more. And I think it's really cool to, see somebody on a steam engine or wearing steampunky clothes calling somebody a motherfucker or something like that. I thought it'd be it entertained me, so I went with it. There's your answer.
Gotcha. No, I feel that, and it did make it easy to follow. There's books that you try to learn the jargon or learn the colloquialisms or slang or whatever it is you want to call them, and there's kind of a learning curve at first. But no, you could just jump right in and follow the story. So that I do, if I get why you made that conscious decision, that's pretty cool. Is there? Oh, sorry. Did you want to add something else?
Yeah, no, and I think the other thing is that it just kind of it's very Theo's character. He's not a smart guy. He's not a smart guy. He's not a good-looking guy. He's not your typical YA protagonist who's got a six-pack and all that stuff. This is a dude who's got a droopy eyelid. He's barely educated, but he is honest and he is driven, and I think he's the things that he cares about more than anything. And I thought that was a really, speaking the way I speak, or speaking that kind of way, that might be the best way to just do it. Just be honest with the character.
Gotcha. For our other guests. Is there anything from the world that struck you guys, or any part of it that you guys were like very inspired by, like in the story?
I mean, I guess I can start. Honestly, yeah, just like the depth that was already in the world, like the amount that Jay had already built up. It almost seemed like for lack of a better way to explain it, it was like this is a series that already exists, and we're talking about one character that, like, you know, his almost fanfic or something. But no, this was a whole, you know, a whole world of his creation, and the time setting, or I guess the frozen in time setting that we have the characters in was really unique to me. I'd never seen anything like it before, as well as just the idea of, hey, let's put all of the criminals in the world into one, you know, like you said, just one big octagon. It was,
and their families.
yeah, and their families, and like the concept of it was just like, this is holy shit. This is really cool. I've never, you know, seen anything really that compares to it.
Gotcha.
For me, kind of, I guess my character playing the, I guess, siblings, even though I'm the cousin, playing the siblings. I'm an older sister. I have 2 younger brothers. The youngest one, I would do anything for. He's, you know, my heart and my soul. I love him. And so, but out of all 3 of us, he is definitely the most well-rounded. He can handle the hard stuff. He's 17, but I think he's just as wise as I am when it comes to life. And so that the relationship that Theo and Yomi have is very special. It is sibling-esque for sure. And just seeing how well-rounded Yomi is, it kind of, in my own life, like, oh, I don't need to do all of these things for my little brothers. Like, they got it. And then for Ayame too, she really wants to be treated like a sibling. She doesn't want to be treated just like the cousin that, you know, they share like a place together. You know, they live with her. And yeah, they've been through everything together, but like, still, she's just the cousin. She wants to be the sibling so bad, and she wants to take care of these boys. And it makes me wonder if I was maybe less motherly or a little bit more open to, I guess, having my brothers take care of me or participate in just our sibling bond instead of me doing all of the work. It would have been different. So, but kind of going back into the world, how she is very motherly. Chapter 8 was one of the worst and best chapters because I could so see myself doing the exact same thing she did. And I would, like, personally, if I was Baker, I would have given the little girl who was starving in the street a pastry. And I don't want to give it away because it's so shocking, but it would be just as devastating.
Yeah.
It would be just as devastating.
Yeah, I always question like that scene, and it's honestly something that I keep questioning still, whether that scene needed to be there. When I wrote it because not only did it show, and the reason I kind of kept it there was that it showed, first off, you know, just that amount of innocence that Ayame and Yomi have been able to maintain in a world that's so cruel. But then also a grounded example of how cruel this world is. I mean, I think the whole point of them trying to escape this world, it kind of helps transition that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it really speaks to the character, like you said, the shred of innocence, the control, the last little grip that they have of themselves in a world of criminals. and their families. Like, that's it. And they are so good, and they're able to maintain that. And that's really special about this story, is no matter what your environment is, you can still be a good person.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree with that.
I think that's a really good metaphor for I think, I mean, inevitably throughout like life in general, but I was thinking, like exactly what Maggie was just saying. It's kind of that theme of doing what's right, even in the face of the most difficult, gut-wrenching, soul-wrenching moments. And I mean, to speak more to like the world aspect, I think I kind of like, and I think this is why it's sort of this high concept, fantastic, you know, the word fantasy, fantastic is in it. But I think that sort of that, the emphasis on like the extreme aspects of it is sort of kind of is what makes the world so interesting, but it makes the humanity even stand out even more. And it's almost like, I guess it's almost like it's to me, it's almost like this story where you could like listen to just a little bit of it and you can like form a whole story out of that. So just listening to one episode, I think actually I remember listening to the scaffold one where Theo's like running and all the scaffolding's falling down, and I was just like I could feel that, and like everything, it just felt like that was like its own world in and of itself. But then I know that that's only like one small piece of this giant universe, so it's just so special to like just give a small part to that world. And I hope all the listeners can just feel that freedom to delve into that wherever they are, whatever they're doing, and kind of escape or find meaning in that while they're doing it.
And I think kind of adding a little bit to what you're saying, the things that Theo goes through in the book, like that scene, you feel like, especially if you're listening to the audio drama, you feel like what he's going through, and like the panic and the excitement and all that, and it kind of makes like, let's say, going to work the next day not as daunting as you would think it would be. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like,
exactly.
Yeah, it's funny how fiction could, even though it's fiction, you could be like, well, if that character is overcoming this and that, like I could kind of overcome my next little trivial trial. So yeah, I get where you're coming from on that, definitely.
It was a pretty big challenge trying to make, because Act 2, one of the big parts of it is obviously the Theo has to end up being in a fist fight with certain people, and obviously one of the people that I drew inspiration from is the immortal Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, fighting. And I was like, well, in this medium, how can I make the person feel like they're getting the shit kicked out of them by the Iceman? And I thought, that was literally the way a lot of these like files, or like the way a lot of these things kind of get put together. It's just using, for example, Theo getting beaten up as a sound effect or stuff like that. So it's just you had to get creative with this, but that kind of came back to the whole reason why our whole team did what we did. With this story, we wanted you to feel everything that put the story together, do all but see the story.
I'm so sorry.
No,
guys.
Thank you so much for the time that you have been able to dedicate to this. So definitely appreciate what you jumping on for at least a little while.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I wish I could have. Yeah.
No worries.
Take care and congratulations on the kid.
Thank you.
Right.
Congrats, Anthony.
Bye. Appreciate it.
All right. So give me just a quick second here. Then let me. So, and I'm just gonna adjust some stuff real quick.
But yeah, with the world itself, I've only kind of shown portion of the stuff that is there. With book 2, I'm going to be focusing on a lot more of you're going to see some crazy locations, like underwater Yakuza labyrinth. Like think Bioshock, Rapture, except with Yakuza. And you're going to see some crazy new locations inside the Octagon that kind of helped build this whole place and stuff. You're actually going to see the wall that divides, the Octagon and the rest of the world, or etc. And you might even see what's on the other side of it. But let's see.
That's cool. And I kind of wanted to have that as a later question, but I'm glad you mentioned it, because as a reader, my very first thought is like, is this an open-ended ending, like left to your own interpretation, or is it part 1 of a series?
It's part 1 of a series for sure.
Okay.
I always knew that Theo's story would continue. So if we want to do a spoiler portion of this, then I'll go ahead and take the gloves off.
All right.
Theo's, this whole thing, like Theo's arc is what I called a survivor arc. It's kind of like a flat arc, except you have it kind of tilting down. It's almost like a fall arc / flat arc hybrid or whatever. But needless to say, Theo ends up in a very negative space at the end of it, or is heading towards something very negative. And this is going to, obviously, so now if we're doing the spoiler part of it, that he kind of kills himself, that he's going to literally try to beat the devil into giving him Yomi back, because he has nothing left, or he thinks he has nothing left. And I think that also, every time I talk about Theo, and Ayame, I think is the most tragic character in this whole story, to be honest, because I think Maggie kind of hit the nail on the head, is that she is their sister. And Theo has been so fixated on Yomi that he is just completely forgotten everything that he's put her through. And then at the end, literally by killing himself, essentially, he's leaving his blind cousin, his blind sister, alone in a world. And almost like if her whole arc, or her whole fear, is that he does not consider me a sibling as much as Yomi does, then that is kind of that nail in the head.
Yeah, and when Maggie was talking about that, I kind of did think of that a little bit, and I was kind of like, yeah, I get where she's coming from and where that character might feel that way. I do think, like, you could tell that he's special to her. I don't think that he doesn't see her as his sister. It feels like more that the thing is that the who has the more immediate issue. Right?
Exactly, 100%.
Right? Yeah, and that's how I feel about it. But then again, he's obsession, right? Yeah, and actually, that kind of leads into another question. Well, actually, before I get into that other question, so we know it's a series, right? And can we talk about how many chapters are going to be released on YouTube, or no?
We can go ahead and talk. That's totally fine. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So we have up to chapter 40. And let's say that this has pretty good reception down the line, right?
Sure.
Would it be safe to say that that might be season 1 of the audio drama?
Well, I mean, chapter 40, I think the end of the end is at chapter 52. So we're pretty much, depending on how it's kind of received, sure. But I'll start cutting the rest of it as well. Because honestly, from my end, all the audio has been recorded. Like, I recorded this audio years ago. For the most part, all I have to do is just kind of sit down and start cutting it all up and editing it back together. And for example, 10 minutes of finished product from my end takes 1,000 hours, 1,000 hours. Like it's not, so it's something that, I went to right now. And I think it was just to the point that if I didn't release SOB right now, I'd have to wait another couple of years or something before I'd actually release it. And I think with this, what I just wanted was that I didn't want this project to, like, I didn't want to kind of do what Theo did and just say, no, I want everything or I get nothing and stuff like that or whatever. I was like, I need this to be out there so I can start working on the other sides of this. That way I could start writing the next story of it or whatever like that. I think for me, at the moment, now that, chapter 1 through 40 are going to be out, especially since the actual ebook is available, my priority is going to more be towards exploring the rest of the SOB story. However, if somebody, for example, if there's a little bit more of a reception to it and people are really kind of, beating the drums for it or whatever like that, then I'll start putting it together. I do know for a fact, though, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot for saying this, but if I ever do SOB2, I'm probably going to reach out to the same people again, but I need freaking editors. Like, Jesus Christ, it takes forever.
Hey, I do a little bit of editing for work and obviously for the podcast, and it takes so long. Even something simple like this where we're just trying to record, just very simple video and audio, it still takes a while. So yeah, I and the amount of production like that I said goes into your stuff is no joke. So hey, completely understandable. And I think so. I don't know if Jason's still on. I know Anthony left, but I kind of want to go in reverse order for this next question, and ask the actors first. So the character is Obsession. So kind of like a fun question for you guys is there anything like that you guys have ever obsessed about? Now, feel free to be as personal or vague or whatever on this question, but the Theo's theme is obsession. So is there anything that you guys are like obsessed about right now or like huge fans of? Or oh, Jason, you're muted.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, yeah, I would say it's probably the pandemic in some ways, but just new experiences, trying new things. I don't know if I don't know if obsession is the right word. Maybe it's more of like a novelty or a desire, but like to try new things. Like I'm planning on doing a surfing lesson pretty soon because I've never really done it before. I'm really into hiking, so I try to hike at new places. So yeah, I guess that's like the closest I can think of. But I'd also say the same thing with new content, new types of shows or things like that as well. So yeah, that's probably how I would frame it. I do actually have to run, but it's been a real pleasure really being here. But yeah, I do have to get out of here, but I really do appreciate the time being here. And I think that I hope as many people as possible can get a chance to see this, to see SOB and access it. And I guess if there's any invitation I could share is try it out, listen to episode 1, see how it makes you feel, and let kind of your heart take you where you wanted to after that. So
cool.
But yeah, anyways, I don't mean to be so abrupt, but I do have to go.
No, I completely understand, man. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And really good to see you, Maggie and Jay, and really great to meet Anthony as well. And hopefully we can talk again soon.
Yeah, it was really good to see you, Jason. Bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
See you, Jason.
Okay, so my obsession is kind of innocent. So my My boyfriend, we moved in during the pandemic. We made that decision. We'd only been dating for 3 months, and he was like, let's just give it a shot. He has 2 cats, and I'm obsessed. I have become the cat mom. I love them. They have gotten Valentine's Day like presents. Like, I'm not joking. Valentine's Day, Christmas presents. They're getting Easter tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with those 2 cats, Marco and Polo.
So are Marco and Polo getting their own cake tomorrow then too?
No. I'm already gonna go through heck trying to make this cake because it has to be a vegan olive oil cake.
Mm.
So it's gonna be interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Actually, olive oil cakes are pretty delicious. I remember I had one once. They're awesome.
Good. I'm glad I've never had it.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And
my
also
family doesn't believe in veganism, so I haven't tried it.
see, my family doesn't either. His family doesn't. So I'm making it, and I'm gonna be like, here you go.
But her cats do. So.
I got you. So Jay, other than SOB, do you have any other obsessions?
Chocolate.
That's a good obsession.
I live for that stuff. That's all I live for. I live for chocolate. No, it's a problem. It's probably like my wife and I, we never fight, but one time she gets pissed at me is like when I wake up. I have a very bad habit of waking up in the middle of the night and eating, and like not actually like sleep eating, almost like just being half in a trance, going around the kitchen and destroying it. And like she'll buy stuff, and she's like, "Where are all my truffles?" And I'm like, "I don't know what happened. I don't even remember it."
I got you. That's not a bad obsession. I think chocolate falls in a good camp. So, okay. So, one question that I have, and then I'm going to ask the final question that I kind of always ask on all my episodes, let's start with Maggie on this one. As far as voice acting, I don't know how many other projects you have, but is there any advice or anything that you would suggest for people that kind of want to get started?
Of course. One thing, if you really want to get started and you want to be really good from the beginning, crack open a book and read it out loud. Even if it's just 1 page a night, just read it out loud. If there's characters, try to change your voice with each characters. One thing that I also did in high school, I was a babysitter. And so like reading all the kids like stories every night, like every single character had a different voice. And, that's fun if you're like a parent or if you are a babysitter, like, and you want to get into voice acting, that's one way that you can do it. It's just crack open a book, read out loud. And then I guess to find projects, I've heard Reddit is a great place to look for projects that you want to be a part of, and Fiverr. Fiverr's a really good place too to go.
Very cool. And Jay, I don't even know if calling you an author is like the right word. You're more like a maestro, like an orchestrator of people, because this is a huge project that you took on. But if somebody wants to create content, what's the number one piece of advice that you have for them?
See what I did and do the opposite. No, I think there's a difference between being passionate about something and then being, so if there's something that you want and like just make sure that you are truly passionate about it, and make sure that it's not an impulsive kind of thing. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if this happens or whatever? Well, like when I got this team together, I knew for a fact that the legwork I was going to have to do. Like I will need to work 10 times harder than everybody put together on this, because this is this is coming from my heart. You know what I mean? And just make sure that if know what you sign up for, and make sure that you're proud of it and that you're willing to see it through. Because I mean, I've edited SOB after working 12-hour shifts. I've edited SOB after my final, exams. I've edited SOB, like one of the chapters when I had to go on, like just the fact that I had to voice Theo and a whole bunch of other people. I'm not an actor. I was probably the worst drama student in school or whatever like that. But just I got some responses back on how people wanted to voice Theo, and I was like, no, that's you're not getting it. And I was like, well, if Theo's going to have to speak 90% of the time or 95% of the time, then maybe I should just kind of give it a shot. And it wasn't so much that I was like, I want to be Theo. It's, you need to understand that when you're creating content, even if you just want to write a book, and like with this, once I created it, after that, learn After Effects just so I can put a package on it. Video edit just so I can put a package on it. Start uploading it and figuring out all this stuff because it's going to require a lot of dedication and a lot of commitment from you, and you have to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Like I personally never knew or whatever if SOB would ever amount to anything, but I knew that I needed to tell this story the way I felt because it was really close to my heart, and that's so make sure you have your priorities straight before you're embarking on any endeavor.
Gotcha. All right. Awesome. Appreciate that. Okay. And last question that I always love to ask everybody that gets on the show. So this is a show about loving art, right? And loving,
Sure.
And it doesn't even necessarily
Sure.
have to be art. It could be a sports team, or, it's called Cult Fans Only because, like,
Sure.
whatever people are passionate about, right? And right now we're talking about a book, right? And in a big way also an audio drama, but a story. So my question is always, do you guys think, like, whatever subject we're talking about, in this case stories, right? Do you think stories can change the world? And if so, why?
So I guess I'll go first because Jay, I really want you to finish this, tie a bow on it, because you're really good at that. I do believe that stories can change the world. Growing up, I was obsessed with Beatrix Potter, and so was my mother. And Beatrix Potter was one of the first authors to create children's books because book presses were all made to be one size, which the books were too big for kids' hands, so she made them smaller. That changed the world. That got kids into reading, and that started the education for children a lot sooner. That changed the world. Stories like this that really tell it like it is. It's grim, it's hard, but there's still that good. There's still that morality that you can always have no matter what your environment is. Like I've said before, that grip, you can still hold on, but you also have to know when to let go. And so with the story like SOB, that's it. If it wasn't for SOB, there's a lot of moments in my life growing up, because I've been part of this project for 5 years now, growing up and going through the throes of college, because you grow up again. You grow up in high school, and then you grow up again in college, and then you grow up again when you're out. Taking those little things, all of the little side stories, all of the characters, flaws, obsessions, actions, decisions, rewards. Taking all of those characters and seeing it actually happen kind of helped me get through whenever I had to make a decision that had a consequence that I didn't think about, or making a decision that I thought was the right choice, and then it wasn't, and it was detrimental, or whatever. A story like this is something that is very special, and I believe it can help a lot of people out.
Thank you. That's a wonderful sentiment.
Mm.
And Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really. I mean, it's she kind of hit the nail on the head over there. For I think for me, it's um, I saw a lot of similarities in the sense that just how Theo would just not let go of Yomi and stuff like that, and just not let go of his family and stuff like that. It's for me, this project has obviously been extremely demanding, and in a heartbeat, I'd do it again. And because it's just that one thing that in 2015, in the summer of 2015, I was in my university. Sorry, doing a class that I hated. That was absolutely miserable, and I was actually on my way to go to dental school after my engineering degree. I had already done the dental application test. I'd done really well, and I was absolutely miserable because I knew that I hated it, and the only thing that I thought about and wanted to do was this story. And just the fact that telling it was the most important part or most important thing to me, I let it dictate pretty much my future, my income, my whatever. And I don't regret that decision at all. Stories absolutely. Stories exist. They're all over the place. Whether when we tell them or when we put them on paper or we put them on the screen or whatever, oftentimes they're a reflection of that, and they can also inspire or whatever. Or they can also make people create stuff. But I mean, you can look at Muhammad Ali, or you can look at any person in the suffrage movement. You look overseas. Stories exist, like beautiful stories exist, and people like art is really just in a way of you kind of putting the next generation ahead of that, like the chicken and the egg kind of thing. This is the next cycle of that.
Yeah. And I think you're both right. We haven't really delved into too many stories and books, but these type of stories like Theo characters inspires me to persevere. Other characters inspire me to be a better person. It's kind of funny. Like I saw this meme that's like lessons that I learned in school, and then it's like nothing.
Yeah.
Lessons that I learned from
Yeah.
anime. Fight for your
Yeah.
friends. Fight for what's
Yeah.
right. Work hard.
Yeah.
All these things. So yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree with you guys on there. So I definitely thank you guys, and I'm encouraging everybody, and I'm gonna add a link to your book, a link to your YouTube channel,
Appreciate it.
Jay, to the comments of this video and of the podcast.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Jason and Anthony, let them know if they have any links that they want to share out. I'll be more than happy to do that. Maggie, you as well, since you're here. I'll just tell you if you want me to share links, I can.
Yeah.
But thank you guys, and I enjoyed the book. I immensely enjoyed the audio drama, and I'm looking forward to seeing more, hopefully in the future. And that's it basically. Now one last thing, Jay, since you are the creator of the book, I'm going to put you on the spot and
sure,
give us our closing words, man. Anything that you want it to be. Chocolate. I mean, that's perfect. The obsession has come full circle.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, it will destroy me. I promise you that.
I heard it's good for your heart, and that's what I'm going to stick with.
That's what I tell myself. That is what I tell myself.
And it's okay.
Yeah. And if it's not good for your heart, it's good for your soul. And I think that is the most important message of all here. Chocolate's good for your soul.
There you go. There you go.
Right. Well, all right. That's it. It's a wrap.